It's amazing that interception by Richard Sherman came 6 years to the day, the 6-year anniversary of him tipping a Kaepernick pass into the hands of his eventual Super Bowl MVP teammate Malcolm Smith to send the Seahawks to the Super Bowl over the 49ers. And then 6 years later, an interception of his own seals the deal for the 49ers. Life is amazing, is it not, Richard Sherman?
It is what it should be.
You know, I mean, honestly, it is crazy how these things happen. What was that like seeing that ball in the air last night, Richard?
Well, it was cool. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get there. Honestly, it was a freaking, Aaron just flicks it and it goes 80. As a track it, and I, used every bit of little gas I had left in the tank to go get it. But once I knew I could get there, it was really cool. It's a special moment.
So what have you been able to, I guess, just sit there for a moment in the last 12, 15 hours about your journey and the fact that you're going with a team that you spent so much of your first several years preventing from happening, and it's the 6-year anniversary of it happening. I'm just wondering if you've been able to sit there and react to what this means to go back to the Super Bowl with a different team.
It's really cool. It's really special. I really love this team, and there's a lot of love and appreciation in this locker room, and that's what you enjoy most. You can't control the wins and losses. They come and go, but it's the brotherhood, the family, the friends you make throughout the journey that make it special.
Is there a moment where you realized that all came together this year?
It was early. It was early in the offseason training camp.
Any specific moment where you're like, okay, this kind of has that feeling to it?
Honestly, I can't think of any specific moment because it was all throughout the year. Throughout the year, you have different experiences with different people. Obviously you have a ton of interactions with your position group and ton of, back and forth and relationships, and you go deeper because you see those guys so much. But throughout the year, you have dealings with the O-line, the D-line, the linebackers, the running backs, the quarterbacks, and you really get a chance, whether it's on the plane or in the locker room after a game or on one of those long road trips that we stayed on the East Coast or stayed in Youngstown, Ohio, and you get to have conversations and really get to know your teammates.
Richard Sherman here on the Rich Eisen Show. I just remember, you came on earlier in the season and 2-0, and then obviously 4-0, 5-0, and you came on, and I'm like, how does this make it? Is this anything close to the Seattle teams? And you kind of let me know in a passive-aggressive way to pump the brakes a little bit. And it is just amazing how it took a while for everyone to warm up to the idea that the 49ers were for real. Now you're in the Super Bowl. Is there any sort of football spike that you kind of want to make right now, even obviously before winning it all?
Not really. I just want to enjoy this moment with my teammates and enjoy the ride. I think it's, as you get older and you haven't been for a while, like I haven't been in 5-6 years, you appreciate it different. Some guys, obviously in this locker room, I think outside of Jimmy and there might be one other person that's ever been just in the playoffs in general, it's going to be a really special moment. And it's going to be really cool for them to just make the Super Bowl and see what the experience is like. But they'll also understand that it's just another moment.
Richard Sherman, 49ers cornerback here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, I'd love for you to dive deep into Raheem Mostert and his story here that many people are just finally beginning to learn because of his remarkable performance on Sunday. What has it been like to watch him work and make, if you will, the most of this situation?
Man, it's been really cool to see the whole season and just throughout his whole journey, man. Since I've been here, he's been an incredible special teams player and just an incredible player in general, and just really, really taking it in his own hands and taking his destiny in his own hands and just freaking worked as hard as anybody I've seen. And you see in the fruits of his labor, and it's cool that the world got to see, how great of a player he was last night.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if there's any sort of connection here, Richard, between this team and, again, the Seahawks teams that you were on, and the fact that this is a Super Bowl team without a single, if you will, skilled position player on offense that was a first-round draft choice. And just remembering, outside of, obviously, Earl Thomas, the Legion of Boom that you were forming along with Bobby Wagner up front, and that that NASCAR defensive line. There weren't a lot of first-round draft choices, yourself included. Does that at all remind you of the past here?
Well, I mean, it's totally different. You know, it's different teams, different experiences, and you know, I don't want to downplay either side. You know, what we had in Seattle was really special, but this is totally a different team and incredibly unique, and they deserve their own unique perspective, and that's why I'm treated. You know, I don't try to compare and contrast and go back and forth that way. You know, this is a special team. This is the San Francisco 49ers. It's a totally different group of men, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. You know, we were the number one pass defense. I think we're number 2 in total defense, and we're still growing. We're still playing. We're still fighting. We're still working for perfection.
So, in the few minutes I have left with you here, Richard Sherman on the Rich Eisen Show, what first blush issues do the Chiefs present to you?
They're obviously a tremendous offense, and you can see what their dynamic receivers do. Pat Mahomes, obviously, Travis Kelce, they have a ton of weapons. Defensively, you know, Frank Clark is disruptive. Tyrann Mathieu is a huge disruptor in their defense. In the middle, Chris Jones presents his own issues, so it's going to be a tremendous challenge for us.
And what's up with Revis, Richard? Are you and him not on the Christmas card list with each other?
You're gonna have to get on an interview with him and talk to him about it. I really got nothing for him, but he seems to have something. You know, he got too much time on his hands or something.
Yeah, I mean, he's taking pictures of you and, you know, on the screen and talking about how you don't travel or have help in a defensive scheme that he never had. I'm just wondering, why did you and he ever tangle in any way, shape, or form that we're unaware of?
No, I think he's, you know, it's one of those where a guy who thinks more of himself than the world thinks of him. And doesn't feel like it feels like I'm getting more credit than I deserve or something like that. And, you know, obviously his stats don't match my stats. And so he tries to find other ways to make himself relevant in the conversation.
I did notice that you were on the side of Davante Adams to start the game. You did move around. I mean, it's not like you, right? I did notice that. Correct?
Well, like I said before, I just do what the game plan is. You know, I play the game plan and do what my coach tells me to do regardless. I don't give a damn. You know, he acts like he called the plays and defenses he played in. He didn't. You know, just like his year in Tampa when they were playing zone, he was getting cooked up. You know, but it was like, oh my God, he that's not the system for him. It's like when you're a great corner, whatever system you're playing is the system for you.
Now, you're the first player age 31 or older with multiple interceptions in a playoff run since Ed Reed. Do you think of the Hall of Fame for yourself, Richard, ever?
I can't think about it. You know, I just got to play the game and do everything I can to help my team win. And you know, if I'm remembered at the end, that'll be really cool, and I'll appreciate it.
And again, before I let you go here, I would be remiss, certainly here on MLK Day, to ask you about the advancement of certainly people of color in the Rooney Rule and coaching in the National Football League, and where you think that all stands. I know you and I had an interesting Twitter exchange last week while I was on the air, and you were commenting about the Browns not choosing your defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh. What do you think of the current state of affairs on that front, Richard Sherman?
I think it's unfortunate. You know, I think it's unfortunate that coaches of color have continued to deal with this issue. And, you know, obviously, you know, we're about to play an offense coordinator who deserved a head coaching job this year in Bieniemy. And it's like no matter what their resume says or what their reputation, how much success they have in this league, they don't get the respect or, you know, the respect enough to be picked as a head coach. And then you get coaches who either come from college or have very little experience being a head coach or even coordinator, for that matter, and they get picked. You know, it's just
And so, do you really? I mean, and I know this may sound in some ways naive, but I'll just ask the question: do you really think it's a color issue that an owner will sit there and go, "I will take somebody that's not a person of color because I think better of that person," or they think they can handle it? Is it really come down to that in your mind?
Well, that's what's crazy. You present those questions to me, and I don't mean this to offend at all, but
nope.
But we get presented those questions as players, and we're not the ones who make those decisions. You know, at the end of the day, the owners make those decisions, and nobody ever asks them that question. The ones who actually can make those decisions and hire the head coaches and make the hard decisions and can answer the question whether it's about color or not, those guys don't get asked the questions. And that's the frustrating part. You know, we have to answer questions like that when at the end of the day, I don't have say-so in it. You know, I don't get to pick. Sure, I would have picked a coach of color. I would have picked whoever is the best man for the job. But it's not my decision. And the people who make those decisions never get asked questions.
And what does Robert Saleh have that you've seen that says, you know what, this guy would be a great head coach in the NFL?
He has all the qualities, man. He's a great leader. He's great at adapting to his players. He plays to his players' strengths. He relates to his players. He takes input. He criticizes, but never too harshly. You know what I mean? He knows how to talk to his players more.
Okay, and then last one for you, the collective bargaining agreement. I know that you're on occasion when you can focus on that and your role with the Players Association. There's a lot of talk that the 17-game schedule has been agreed to, and that a lot of other issues have been agreed to, with financial issues outstanding. Would that be an accurate assessment of the way things are right now, Richard?
It would not. It would not be an accurate assessment, and that's also the funny thing about. Love you too. About media and how they portray things, and how the owners have a hand in manipulating the media and manipulating the conversation, because we're in no way, shape, or form have agreed to 17 games. That's a issue that players are strongly against, and just about every player that I talk to is strongly against it. Now, it's still a conversation between us, and if players change their mind in the future, then who knows? But that's not something that we agree and that we think is a good idea moving forward.
What about the idea of a change in player discipline, and also the way that the league views marijuana use? Has that been agreed to as a relaxed rule?
No, it hasn't been. And it's just, it's been a conversation, but it's kind of been in the background. Obviously, there's been more important conversations about revenue and discipline, and obviously the schedule. So it hasn't been at the forefront.
All right. And then, Richard, I really appreciate the time. One of the last times I saw you was after you blew out your Achilles on the sideline in Arizona. And just seeing you that night, knowing what your future was holding, was a ton of rehab, and then the ability to maybe find another spot, if not Seattle, was just beginning to dawn on you. And the fact that I'm talking to you here today with you being a Super Bowl cornerback that you helped seal with an interception, I just wanted to say congratulations, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
No, right back at you. I'm just, again, that night I saw you, and all of us from NFL Network saw you, and you knew what you had in front of you. And the fact that you made it happen has got to be quite a good feeling for you.
It is a great feeling. It is an indescribable feeling, and I'm just thankful to be on this journey, thankful for my teammates, and hope to just continue it.
Yep, and then congrats on the Walter Payton Man of the Year nomination for you in San Francisco for the 49ers as well.
Thank you so much.
Right back.
I hope we can do this again.
No, look, maybe we'll talk in a couple weeks. How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks for the call, Richard. Really appreciate it. That is Richard Sherman at @RSherman_25 on Twitter.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live, or download the Rich Eisen Show app.